Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day one of our 30-day no complaining challenge. And over the next 31 days, we're going to embark on something that sounds simple, but I think it has the potential to transform every area of our lives. Our relationships, our health, our businesses, our families, faith, and definitely, and probably most importantly, our minds. And on the surface, it looks really simple, like no complaining. And it's not just to stop complaining, it's to go deeper and to actually discover, why are we complaining in the first place? Why do we complain about things? Why do we express dissatisfaction? Because I think complaining is not always about the thing that we're talking about. Sometimes it's about what's happening inside of us. And that's what we're trying to uncover. So it's also not pretending or faking that everything is okay. So before we begin, it's important that we establish some clarity, okay? Life is not perfect, and it's not about suppressing our emotions or our feelings or denying the pain or discomfort when it comes. If you're going through something, if you're grieving, if you're frustrated, overwhelmed, those are real emotions, and we see that in scripture as well. Jesus wept, and that's one of the most famous passages that highlight his humanity. But I don't believe that God ever asked us to become emotionally numb. And some of us have practiced stoicism, and that's great. But I think we're supposed to deal with our emotions as they come. And so what we're challenging in this is the habit of rehearsing problems in our mind that keeps us stuck. And the difference is, there's a difference between expressing pain and feeding it. One leads towards freedom or healing, and the other, it sort of leads towards bitterness. So let's first of all define what we call complaining so everybody's on the same page. Complaining is giving energy, attention, words, thoughts, emotion to what we don't like without moving towards a position of understanding, a gratitude, acceptance, or action. So it's operating from a low level energy position when we have the opportunity to be operating at a higher level. So notice what I didn't say. I didn't say identifying problems is complaining. Okay. I think a good leader, one of the things that a good leader does is to identify problems. Parents identify problems. Doctors identify problems. When your car is broken down, you take it to a mechanic. They got to give you a diagnostic. Same thing with business owners. And I think there's wisdom in identifying problems. But complaining begins when we stop there, when our conversations become cyclical. We've identified the problem, and now we're continuously talking about the problem. We're replaying the same frustrations over and over and over. And when our minds are constantly looking for what's wrong versus what's right. And here's something fascinating that I want to share with you guys. Your brain is always looking. Your mind is always scanning the environment. It's always learning. And what the complaints are doing is it's teaching your mind what to look for next week, tomorrow, next month. And every morning you wake up complaining about traffic. Oh, this traffic is terrible. Guess what? Your brain becomes an expert at looking for traffic. And I think this is a psychological principle. And it's biblical as well. If you seek, you will find. So if you're constantly complaining about something, your husband, your wife, your mind is constantly filtering those flaws. You complain about your body, you're going to notice every imperfection. You complain about your business, your family, your attention, wherever your attention is going, it's going to become your reality. And not because reality has changed, but because your perception of it has changed. And Jesus said this too: the eye is the lamp of the body. And so how you see determines how and what you experience. One of the most repeated themes in the Old Testament is the journey of the Israelites through the desert. And they had a big tendency of complaining. And think about it. God had parted the Red Sea, gave them manna from the sky. He, through Moses, brought water, gave them protection, and they still complained. Because miracles are not going to be an automatic trigger for you to change your mind. You can experience all kinds of blessings and still be a complainer. You can experience all types of breakthrough and still have a complaining heart. And I think that should humble us when we read these stories, because we often overlook what God has already done in our lives because we're so focused on what God hasn't done or what hasn't happened. And we do this in our modern day. We complain about the weather, the traffic, the politics. There's so many Trump haters out there. We complain about slow Wi-Fi. Oh, I can't believe this. Long meetings. We complain about our boss. Some of the women complain about their weight, their age. And a lot of the men tend to complain about their businesses, their customers, even their church. We complain about ourselves. And sometimes we complain so naturally that we don't even realize we're complaining. It's almost like background noise, like breathing. So imagine wearing a shirt every day for years. At some point, you're going to stop noticing that you're even wearing it. And I think that's how complaining becomes. It becomes part of our fabric, part of our being, part of our identity without our permission. And the thing about complaining is it can be viral. It can spread. You walk into a room where somebody's complaining, or you go to a job and you have that one person, it becomes cancerous. And you can find yourself complaining. Man, I can't stand this. Negativity spreads. But so does gratitude. So does positivity. So does peace. So does hope. So does positive emotions. And if you go to your business, to your family, to your friend group, they all have some type of culture, some type of emotional culture. And the question is, as a kingdom builder, what culture are you contributing to? The culture of lack, fear, subscribing to doubts, complaining. And if we look at the model that we have in Jesus, he rarely complained. I'm not going to say never, but I don't recall a time when he complained. He had some moments of sorrow. He corrected people, but the one moment that I can remember when he expressed the anger, it was almost a level of righteousness. But you don't see him constantly rehearsing how unfair life was. I didn't get to enjoy life. I had to do this, do that. Even on the cross, instead of complaining, he forgave. And I think that was one of the most remarkable things that he could have done. And it doesn't necessarily minimize his suffering, but it reveals where he was so mission oriented that his level of focus was just on completing his mission, even though it meant suffering. And what I've seen, from that is that a lot of times the complaints that we make are actually our attempts, our covert or hidden attempts to control reality. We complain because reality is not matching our expectations. You come home, your wife didn't do what you wanted to do, you complain. You go to work, it's supposed to be a 20-minute ride, now it's 25 minutes. Traffic shouldn't be like this. You expected to have a 10K month in your business and it wasn't. You start to complain. People should do more because you do more. You start to complain. Life should be easier. And so our complaints actually reveal our expectations. They don't reveal reality sometimes. They just reveal the disconnect between what you expected and reality. And just like allowing, one of the greatest freedoms in life comes when we can see the difference between what we can control and what we just have to accept. So the beautiful thing about this challenge is the complaining is not going to stop immediately. So today, day one, you're not going to stop complaining. You're not even trying to stop complaining. All we're going to do for today is just notice it. That's it. Notice the complaining. No guilt, no shame, no pretending. Just be an observer. Almost like you're watching somebody else. Notice, when do I complain? Who am I around? What triggers it? What emotions come first? Is it fear, frustration, insecurity, tiredness, fatigue, disappointment? And once we can start to acknowledge it, be aware of it, that's the first step. Awareness is usually the first step of any transformation. You can't change what you can't see. So today, just carry a small notebook or use the notes app on your phone. And every single time you catch yourself expressing a thought, a complaint, or even thinking about it, just take a note. No judgment, no explanation, just taking notes. You'll be surprised. And not because you're a negative person, but because complaining has become so automatic in our culture, especially if you're in the Western culture, that a lot of us don't even hear it anymore. We don't even associate some of the things that we say or do as complaining. And if you go throughout today, the goal is not to be perfect. It's just to become aware, to become awake. And ask yourself throughout the day, what do I complain about the most? Who do I complain about the most? Who is receiving my complaints? Does complaining actually solve anything? Did it solve anything when you complained about the weather, complained about the traffic? And if somebody listened to you, if any of our members, if anybody in the group listened to you for one day, what would they conclude, or what would they say that you value the most? Would they hear more gratitude or more frustration? And so today, let's not try to fix anything. Just notice. Notice your words. Notice your thoughts. Notice your tone, your body language, and especially the things that trigger you. Because every complaint you become aware of, the minute you start to notice it, it starts to lose its power. And that area of awareness is where freedom starts. So I'd like to say a closing prayer real quick. So just close your eyes if you can, and take yourself to a place of peace. Welcome the Spirit of God into the presence wherever you are right now. And God, we ask for awareness, not condemnation, not shame, just awareness. Allow us to recognize the habits we've developed that no longer serve us. The habits of fear, the habits of doubt, the habits of manipulation. Open up our eyes to the blessings that we've overlooked. Sometimes we focus on things that we don't have. Some of us, well, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I look at things for my kids, my wife, myself. I look into the future and I look at where I'm at. And sometimes there's a level of disgruntledness, a level of unhappiness, whether it's short-lived, whether it's long-term. Allow us to appreciate what we have. Allow us to appreciate what's here and not overlook just because we're focused on what's missing. Teach us to become people whose words bring life rather than reinforce discouragement. Give us the humility to notice ourselves before trying to change others. Show us those areas in our life that are gaps, that are areas of opportunity. And as we take on this 30-day challenge, may this challenge transform not just what we say in our speech, but also our hearts, our relationships, and our perspective. Allow us to see things the way you see things, and help us to become the people who see you and your goodness, even in the smallest insignificant moments.